Alright. Oh man, that one's out. Oh no, it disappeared. That one's tired. Either way, no. Well, no, actually, no, I'm not tired at all. I feel full of energy. Just finished helping grocery shop, up away, eating lunch, all filled up. In the swing of it, got fuel to go. You know what? Yeah, I'm feeling real good. But in the life of Tuba, everything's been going well. Interesting, you know. Before, I guess it'll be related to the game design, considering it's gonna be music for a game. But spend like 2 hours making a loading screen because I had a thing that would make the effect that would be like, oh yeah, that would be good if I could just like cover the entire screen with that. But it wouldn't apply to stuff it put in like the UI layer, like stuff that would appear on like the actual screen as part of the game's UI, like buttons and stuff. That entire layer, like independent of the physical space and more like scales of the screen, like the screen itself. It wouldn't work on that because what animation modified to make it fade away, it didn't like doing that on UI bits. So I had to go in and code that effect in myself. So my game's involving fire, so it made the loading screen like burn in, like, you know, you burn something and like crumbles the ash. Yeah, kind of like that. And then when it burns in, it like burns away. Like where it's a reverse effect, they fade into black and then fades out. I have to code that, but you know, now that I got that working, I can, if I ever have another project that needs that, I got it. Because just a little inside of baseball, a lot of things are like do once and then reference back to it because you never want to do it again. It's kind of like why pre-made engines are so popular, because hot damn, making your own game engine, that's a nightmare you shouldn't wish on anybody. Let's see, other than that, oh, the headphones I'm wearing right now, they're kind of on the they've been on their last legs, and I just sort of kneecapped it this morning when I woke up. So I may have to end up using different headphones later on. Hello, Dark Rebel. But I mean, that's how it goes. Other than that, let's see. Oh, me? I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Little some mishaps here and there, some busy work, although also here and there. But here we are now. I gotta tell you, I'm right as rain fills feeling very excited to go over this. Because, not sure if you can interpret it from the tuba part of the name, but music is quite something important to me. Music you hear now, the intro, the little night section before stream ends, the ending, made by yours truly. Honestly, if it wasn't for the entire game design, the game created, making stuff, I'd probably be a musician for a living. But yeah, the different winding roads of fate could be discussed another time. Right now, there's a certain other business we gotta attend to. Oh. Oh yeah, I guess I shouldn't need to be since the entire point. Nope, that is the overlay. There you go. You do not see this, you do not see me stretched into the ether. Oh yeah, there's 5 asset things. Oh. Well, isn't that, sort of the aforementioned bad luck Friday the 13th known for? Oh boy, this is way too quiet. Alright, now then, let me find it. The aforementioned music I'm gonna be talking about. S-E-U. You. There we go. This shouldn't be too loud. Like, what am I doing? Just put this on the other screen so I can look at that. Alrighty, and now I'm gonna be putting on the music because I mean we gotta have music to talk about. Oh yeah, that's it. The way, go shoot. But yeah, I mean, you got a question, might as well get that out of the way first. A nice peaceful music. The calm before the storm, as it were. So I can't help it. I just hear it and thoughts just rattle around in my head. Yeah, but yeah, shoot your question. Oh well, I mean, I'm just going over. Actually, I'm going over the music of Ultrakill. Because I just wanted to talk about the music of it. But also, I mean, there's very few things I consider a normal game nowadays. This stuff appealing to like all audiences and the likes. But I mean, getting into the area of like game taste and preference. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms. There's a nice way for me to show that. But either way, I mean, I suppose while I'm looking for a way to display this, I should talk about it. Okay, so right now we have The Fire Is Gone for piano, saxophone, trumpet. This, when you first boot up Ultrakill, I guess after the sort of the main logo thing for New Blood, this is what you hear. Gentle, sort of kind of ragtime. Mostly just peaceful, kind of sound like it's on a gramophone. sort of like an intentional dissonance between it and, well, as you'll see, the rest of Ultrakill itself. I have pictures of this. Yeah, that works. Oh yeah, okay, and this'll help too. Good thing I kept this. Okay, so I figured I'll oh, you will find out. So just, you know, have a little something to look at, something to look at. I'll put up a picture of each track's little cover. Oh boy, that's big. Scale that way down. So here we have the cover for Ultrakill. Just wanna keep it a little here. There you go. Sitting nice and pretty. And well, if any of y'all listening are interested in the soundtrack of Ultrakill, you could, one, buy the game, or if you're just more interested in just the music side, because I can tell you, trying to get higher ranks and stuff, you know, definitely not for me. I'm just more in the experience for it, and also the music. Available on Hakita's Bandcamp under the alias Evan Piercer, and some interesting, well, behind-the-scenes work too, included in, well, both the Act I and Act II soundtrack releases. So we have Hakita notation for this track once again. The fire is gone. Like I said, it's sort of just like, not really dissonance, but just like, sort of jaunty, jazzy tune. Just like piano, simple melody. And then, as we heard the trumpets earlier. And like the saxophone just providing a simple chord. Like you can hear it. Like barely. You can hear the whistling. Like let me turn it up just a tad. Like you can hear the reed. Just a simple chord. The piano doing most of the driving forward. And then of course the trumpet coming in with a little melody. But Hakita describes it as an old song written back in 2016, called "The Fire's Gone, I Remember the Best." It's actually a shortened form. Originally used for just the intro to play in contrast, play expectations by having, you know, that aforementioned slow start before the chaos. And I'll sort of describe how it feels in game too. I even we played Ultrakill all the way through just so I could like get back into the mindset of the places and music. Because like Ultrakill, like I spell it properly, like with the, or you know, like, well, a sort of like expected way with just a U. But actually, if you want to split hairs, it's actually all uppercase. Back in earlier demo versions, apparently the main menu had no music, and just had the sound of the player falling from one level to the next. And that kind of was annoying, thus, actual intro music. This was originally just supposed to be a placeholder, but it ended up fitting well, so Hakita decided to keep it. They would like to reincorporate the game at a later point, so there was a risk of people getting sick of hearing it too often. But, you know, it turns out to be one of those deals where people really like it. Because, I mean, It's just one of those things. It's just a feeling it gives you. Like, it really is like sort of the calm before the storm, but you get to choose when the storm starts. And also, in a way, you are the storm. So then, after that, we have just, well, we go from the fire is gone to into the fire. Which, I mean, that's just a nice piece of coincidence. You hear that? That low drone. You start off the game in silence, in darkness, wandering around, learning controls. Not really sure what to do. It's actually the ambiance and credits build up are actually an addition to this compared to the prelude version, which was a sort of standalone release of the original tutorial levels demo release. Because Nikita felt without it, it felt like it just sort of lacks the impact. With this, oh, what's that? Oh, a weapon. Why don't you go pick it up? Oh, what's this build up? Ooh, what's that going to? Ultrakill. All capitals. And now we should have to maybe turn it down a smidge. And then this is what the fire is gone leads into. Droning silence into rock. Oh, you hear that percussion? I've replicated it, but I ain't no machine. Either that sort of rumbling we had before is called Ma, another old track Akita made and repurposed. But it was for a former dark album for an old indie horror game. It was never released, and it doesn't meet their standards anymore. But so it was sort of repurposed. And was also repurposed in a later Akita album. And that sort of lead up, that chord, just, you know, just sort of commit blasphemy for a bit. I mean, okay, just to go back to commands. So, pick up the gun, it has that big drop, and then here we are now. We're going around, running around, just chaotic mess. Just like, run around, shooting enemies. We're just like, where's the next enemy? Where are they? How do I do this? What's a parry? I can what? I can parry? Like, oh, this thing can shoot through glass and make enemies fall to a bottomless pit? I can do air dashes? It's just chaos. But it's sort of on the leash as the player is still limited by their own expectations of what they can do themselves. And then hence, like, loop being kind of a little bit shorter. But I mean, it leads itself really well to being a tutorial song. Oh yeah, you hear that guitar? Dun, 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 dun. You know, simple chords. But I mean, you know, aside from a few editing things, you don't have to be really complicated. And this, oh, you hear that? Now, we're gonna revisit that a little bit later. Yeah, so, and there we go. The song is now looped. So this would be Ma. And then if we go forward. So you have this chord. We're no longer in Ma. This is now the build up into the main part of the song. or build up to the drop. Now, just to go through that again, there's a build-up would eventually become the lead-up to a later song called Cerberus, which, well, we begin to. Not next, but the one after. Here, in the main song, like I said, it's simple. It's, Akita's the least satisfied with this, which, I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, considering it's one of the earliest songs implemented. Mostly riffs, back-to-back, or, like, just, you know, a generic metal, you know, with almond breaks. Almond breaks being a common, like, sort of drum break utilized in, well, a lot of breakcore, which is, like, the kind of genre that's got most of Ultrakill's music the best. But sort of is a percussion built. Yeah, Akita used metal almond breaks in earlier albums in experimentation. And so when it came to how Akita was trying to decide for the Ultrakill soundtrack, the most popular song on a previous album had been one that utilized metal and almond breaks. So, there you go. They also have a sort of, you know, this drum, you know, the heavy rims, like this sort of edited beat to them. It sort of gives that sort of rebellious feel Akita was aiming for. But, so Akita would have originally recorded the instruments himself, but it would have reduced the flow intensity since drums ain't exactly his strong suit, at least in real life. So he doesn't have to mix and master the drums. So here comes in using MIDI. Sometimes it's better to work with the weaknesses instead of brute force them, he's quoted saying. Yeah, composition, it's like I said, very simple. Chords and some almond breaks. Lots of, you know, unused versions, considering this was just the early period, trying to figure out, like, the music identity of the game. But I mean, here we are. And, you know, just some information about unused versions. There's a version that's gonna put you an 80s drum machine with the almond breaks, supposed to be used with the boss, but it made the combat sound just a bit, sound a bit weird. And that's another important bit. While their songs just sound like a straight shot through, there's a lot of sections that just repeat, sort of loop, when you're in a boss fight or you're just fighting a bunch of enemies. And you'll see more, like, a better example of that later. That's enough of that. Next track. Okay, that's not all it. There we go. Unstoppable Force. Now, this is just sort of a following thing. Akita's a bit more satisfied compared to Into the Fire. Feel that? It's just sort of, each level has its, like, own little theme, and then here's it. It's still of the same like kind of area, which is simple drive and metal. Heavy drums, which, I mean, there's always gonna be heavy drums, but you feel that? You heard that? Hear that again. Okay, listen. Oh yeah. Yep. You see, Akita's just sort of getting more to the swing of it. And I don't mean that as musical swing, I mean that as in being more freeform about it. And it sort of adds more intensity to level. Like the player, like, they got a better handle on it now. they now have sort of a semblance of what they're doing. Like okay, I know what I'm doing. I know how to point and aim at things now. So the music goes a bit wilder to show it sort of matches how the player goes a bit wilder, seeing like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, but now, what can I do? What limits can I push it towards? Intensity, but it's also a little bit shorter. First two riffs are actually, and you can tell from the beginning. The beginning of the song was sort of built off of Into the Fire. And the original idea was for each layer, meaning each like set of levels, to have their own, well, sort of motif appearing throughout. That was later not included, decided against because with the amount of levels, it'd get a little bit samey. Now, you may think like, oh man, these riffs may sound a bit like E1M1 from Doom. That's a big one, that's just coincidental. Like, hear that? You hear that? This would be it. Really coincidental to be sort of similar to the original riff of Doom. But I mean, happy coincidence. But it's happy coincidence because that means if you do it unintentionally, that means you don't have to worry about skirting the line of homage and plagiarism, as Akita says. And trying to skirt that line, not a good idea for a soundtrack. So this and Into the Fire, they're the only level BGM used from more than one level. And the for this version used in the soundtrack version, it comes from the original version of this track, but at a slower tempo. Like here. Hear this. It's the original, and he had noticed like, oh man, that's way too slow. So he just redid it the next day. It would have been easy. Though it would have been easy if you just, change the value, a MIDI value, but, you live and learn. But, remember how I mentioned how he said that one build-up from Into the Fire? This? Remember how I said this? How this would be used in a later song called Cerberus? Oh, hey. What's that sound? What's that chord sound? Don't that sound familiar? It's almost like there's some kind of through line leading the player from one point to the next in a sort of thematic fashion. This, right here, this is where it all began. The first piece of music. It's kind of like how Rhydon was the first Pokemon, but not at all like, quote-unquote, the first Pokemon. Originally, this was just a tone set. And yeah, I'd say it sets a tone well. It said, like, you're a robot, so it's the industrial sounds. You're going through hell, so it's just dark and heavy. But also, the player is a powerhouse. The build-up, the release. Yeah, so then here we are. Now it's used for the first boss, proper big boss fight of the game. With Cerberus. Useful for going with Cerberus's slow demonic movement, because well, in the game, Cerberus is just a big stone statue. there's actually a sample here from Mars, the Bringer of War. That old piece from from Gustav Holst's Planets. Which, I mean, if you're familiar with more classical music, then yeah. Low quality recorded, but I mean, it's sort of hidden behind the guitars and stuff. But here we are. Mood setting, the players are battling it. This giant stone statue. And then there they're gone. I go to describing right as it's over. Yeah, so okay, so here, let me set the stage. You got the level, you're walking out. You see this pathway. Like you see giant crushers, or you see a door you're supposed to go across. A giant pile of lava. You cross. Either jumping over the lava yourself, or you take the long way and avoid some crushers. Because you know that's the thing at the entrance of hell for whatever reason. But this intro is actually slightly faster and pitched higher. That plays during the original part of the game. But I mean, it's one of those deals where, like something you gotta that happens in games in music is that not what goes well with gameplay may not necessarily go good with listening alone. Hence why sometimes there's gotta be different mixes for game and soundtrack releases. Alongside actual proper mixes with sound bits. So next up, we got 1,000 Greetings. You know, slow it back down. You know, it's been all rage, all anger. Why don't we slow it down? Once again, another 2016 piece from Hikita. 1,000 Greetings, number 2. As you can assume, it was a follow-up to 1,000 Greetings 1. Same motif, different instruments. And then, one of those early tracks, we were like, okay, maybe early me maybe got a lot of it wrong, but you know, no, the goose lays a golden egg. The goose lays a golden egg from time to time. Akira was going for Brian Eno's music for airports kind of deal. Minimalist with, you know, ambient music. Yeah, you hear that? You hear looping, you hear a little bit of reverb. Like it echoing back to you. Welcome to Limbo. The first proper layer of hell. Well, okay, not for like the first proper layer of hell. I mean, it depends if you count Limbo as a layer of hell, which I do. Considering, like... Okay, I mean, I suppose it really depends on your interpretations of, like, oh, is it considered a hellish punishment? I mean, because technically nothing bad happens, you just sort of live there with the knowledge of you can't reach heaven. So, is it hell? Is anything that is not hell, or is anything that not heaven automatically hell? I don't know. I'll leave that one to the religious theorist in the world. I'm agnostic at best. Granted, Christian raised, but can't say I pay too much to Bible school. Yeah. So the thing with Limbo is it starts off with a complete facade. These screens. Every single room is covered with these sort of fake screens showing a blue sky, distant mountains, speakers letting off bird hums. So it's that perfect feeling for it. Like, yeah, okay, it's peaceful, but too peaceful. controlled peacefulness even. But this piano comes from a sort of, you know, the vaporwave craze. But the game actually only uses one section in this, but if you the soundtrack release comes with the entire deal. So I can't say much about the entire thing. There's also, of course, a battle version because, I mean, not everything is peaceful. And oh, you hear those footsteps? Those are actually Hakita. Going out for a walk to record bird sounds. Not intentionally, you know, just going for a walk. Inspiration strikes. And also you think, man, I should get bird sounds. Never know when I'll need them later. Yeah. This one, I mean, it'd just be wrong for me to just reveal the entire thing since it's an extended version, or the full version. But you know, Limbo is just an illusion. Like all things, illusion, all lies. They eventually fall to pieces. Welcome to a shattered illusion. So, after the prelude, sort of single, sort of simple, direct, heavy metal, we go for a remix. But, so we have an electronic remix of, well, 1,000 Welcomes. Or 1,000 Greetings. Can you believe Akita doesn't make many electronic songs? Yeah, we go from just like complete lies to, alright, fine. If you're gonna be an interloper in this lair, we'll send after you. And this is also where you meet some more purely robotic denizens, also in hell seeking blood. Now it ain't only just you fighting devils, it's also you fighting your robotic brethren, all fighting over blood. Yeah, so I hear that bass like sort of compressed. Oh yeah, the cut up manipulations of 1,000 Greetings really sells that feeling the player is just, you know, a fight in paradise now. A false paradise, but still sells that feeling. And you know, here we are, the piano chords just like way pitched up, sort of just like standing out even in the chaotic mess. An unsure decision on Akita's part, but I can assure you, it just helps sell the feeling. Showing well, you know, potentially you should just go off the beaten path, even if you're not comfortable. But, you know, part of the reason I wanted to do this stream is because, like, well, it's out of my wheelhouse, and I want to just talk about music. So here we are. And then, fitting here, yeah, so you're just fighting, you're going from room to room, identical room to room, pieces of rubble sticking out from the ground, hallways that look the same. Just chaos. And I gotta tell you, in game, there'd be a lot more gun sounds, laser sounds, explosions. Eventually, the enemy introduced you. Just a flying sentry robot, dashing all over the place. So you hear dashing sounds, whooshing, more explosions from them. Oh, look at that! And it just loops into itself. Now, we'll be talking about that later, because, like, you know, 1,000 Greetings led to a shattered illusion, which, you know, it's an intentional kind of thing like that. But, you know, make our way through Limbo. We come back out, look into the past, and we see something. It was a lie, but it was pristine. Now, it's engulfed in flames. It is a complete and utter destruction of the senses. And then, with this arrives a new enemy, flamethrower-wielding street cleaners. Engulfing limbo fire. So, the first mumbling was actually, you know, like, sort of Into the Fire, lots of unused versions. But I mean, that's just the way it goes. This song is actually, sort of an afterthought, made after the level. Because, you know, it's so weird to have the arena fight while background noise was going. This thing was whipped up in a couple of hours by laying a bunch of distortions on a synth and drums to make industrial noises. And this theme of Akita just sort of haphazardly slamming together some music. That happens a lot. So, after that, you put them together, copy the thing, layer it onto itself for half speed, for more bass, which sort of obscures how many loops there is. Because, you know, it's complete utter destruction in the senses. Not really, Akita's own admission, not exactly a free time listening song, but, because, you know, it's not like, because there's always gotta be people who love even the, really weird songs. And, like, kind of completely abrasive ones. And like I said, like, even in the actual game, it's sort of that separation of current feel. I'm gonna turn this down so I can keep talking. It's like that sort of separation between feel and, like, like, you're not, because if you're listening to this in game, your focus is actually split between, like, 5 different things at once: enemies, your movement, your position, your aim, your current stats. Yeah, it's good. So, you know, so it could be a potential, but to those who do like it and seek it out, it could lead them to noise music. But, this is sort of a outlier in the most of the game's songs aren't just completely abrasive like this. But I mean, not many complain about it, so, there we go. One of Akita's personal favorites on the first act. But, moving on from that. A Sanctuary in the Garden of the Mind. No, calm back down. Calm back down. Yeah. We're in the next part of Limbo. A sort of more like, medieval looking place. Sort of cathedral-like, even. So you got stained glass, brick architecture, paintings and tapestry, a bunch of synths, sort of going for that organ feel, or choir. Repairs from another Akita song. But, this actually is for a special level, a secret level. That's essentially The Witness, that one game where you connect dots with lines. And The Witness itself does not have background music, but I mean, if you're just doing nothing but puzzles after just spending an eternity shooting things, I mean, you gotta calm the players down some way. So, you know, this is just actually intended to be calm. But the first secret level actually was completely, had no sound. and it was horrific because you were in a completely dark maze chased by, literally called something, like something terrible or something awful, and it was horrifying. So this sort of, is supposed to help sell the feeling like, no, nothing is coming after you here. Just, calm down. And in this, it's included, and placement-wise, it is kind of between this song, the previous song and the next, but it also helps create some breathing room between, the songs and the next one, which is a fan favorite from the first act of the game, and still a fan favorite now. And sort of gives the player who's listening to the entire album a bit of a reset compared to, the previous tracks, noise music. And I don't mean that as in, like, it's noise music. I mean that as, like, that's the genre. But moving on, we have one of the most popular songs from the first game, or from when the game originally released, had its full demo release, Castlevania. Oh, I cannot drag my thing anymore. Oh. Well, I hope I don't need to backtrack for any reason. Oh, yeah. Now, more classical, more Castlevania. The sort of the harpsichord. This is a turning point. This is where the identity was found. And like I said, it's called Castlevania, so it actually does take some sort of... Okay, I had to pause it for a second. It does actually take some tropes from old Castlevania soundtracks, mostly Michiru Yamane's work. And it's as little as you get. You're fighting inside of a castle in this level. You find a nail gun, you're shooting things with nails. It's hectic and exciting. And this is when Hikita originally found the Rise of the Triad. So then in comes this melodic attempt to, attempt at inserting, a more melodic tone. Like melody heavy. That, Castlevania and, by Akita's description, Undertale thrive on. And considering this is, one of the most fondly remembered tracks from, the prelude of Ultrakill, oh yeah, no, it does its job well. Hear that. It gives something a player to latch onto. And especially that driving melody. It gives the player something to latch onto. It's sort of like how, if you go on a walk and you listen to music, you sort of start walking your feet to the tempo of the beat. It's kind of like the same thing, but for gameplay. It gives the player a drive, a sort of driving force, whether they know it or not. But originally Hikita worried that this drum pattern, so he was originally worried it'd work out. It's where it's welcome, considering how long you could be listening to its song. But people like it. But this was actually the first to be written in MIDI with guitar and bass recorded above it. Which just later becomes how Hikita wrote, or at least worked on songs. Better than melody-driven songwriting, while being faster and easier. So never be afraid to change your workflow. You may find a new one that fits you better. And just for this, we're gonna keep going through because and this is one of the longer tracks because Castlevania is used on one of the longer levels of the game. You find skulls, you find enemies, multiple rooms. Once again, that melody just repeated throughout and sort of drives it forward. You know, sort of the violin. It all serves to help you drive it forward while giving the player something to latch onto. And as it goes forward, the player goes forward with it. Just sort of. And there it is again. There it is again. And then, so for the soundtrack release version, meaning the full this official soundtrack release, Akira actually added a little section that that leads into the next one, which I mean, honestly, the next track, it's less of an original track and more literally completely not an original track. Anyway, so players, you know, they found skulls, they're fighting the enemy, they're facing the hideous mask for the first time. This giant, literal stone wall of an enemy. So this would be like the point where players just fighting the thing. So here it is, it ramps up in intense. And oh, here we are. No, the song has not looped. Rather, it's a lead-in. It's just Claire de Lune. It's Claire de Lune. I don't know what to tell you. If you, yo, can I get some Debussies in chat? Debussy, if you wanna split hairs and be a sort of stick in the mud. But yeah, no, it's just literally Claire de Lune. So you get to the last level of Limbo. And well, here you are. It's now, for some reason, transitioned to nighttime. You're in an empty house, and, well, there you are. Finding books, reading them. Ooh, what's this? A door leading to somewhere else. A door leading behind a locked gate. I could jump through the stained glass window, or maybe I don't know that yet. Oh, and what's this? Hidden walls, hidden skulls used to unlock the gate. Don't mind if I do. And then, of course, what's this? A hidden door, hiding with 4 symbols on it, meaning there are 3 other buttons in the previous levels. Well, it's something to look back upon. You know, just a nice, calm song to listen to while you just explore this level. Cliche choice, but fits too well not to use, Akira says. It's just really exploring. It's just sort of put there to fit it. You know, just, you know, because, like, just how it is important for the player to, you know, rest up between bosses. Let the player just, like, you know, refocus the mind and sort of put themselves back together. It's important to let the mind put themselves back together, too. And part of that involves music. Going from just high intensity just to something calmer. Let the player put themselves back together. Originally, it was, or a potential idea was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. But I mean, that one was just a little bit too ever-present. So I mean, if you do have Ultrakill, maybe we play part 4 of Limbo, level 4 of Limbo, and just put on the first act of Moonlight Sonata. See how that is. be a bit heavier and more ominous. But you know, I mean, listen, it's Claire de Lune. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, other than the gameplay effects, I don't know what else to tell you. It just lets the player put themselves back together. But after that comes in one of the other tracks much loved. Oh no, hold on. Ow, my tongue. Oh. Help. Either way. Versus. You make your own copy of yourself. The Claire de Lune is gone. Okay, well, it disappears a bit before. Well, no, it doesn't. Either way. Versus. You're fighting it. A sort of mirror fight, if you will. Except the mirror is technically a better version of you. Maybe not as well armed as you at this point, but they definitely know how to use their arms skillfully. He just got this going ham. The riff based the prelude with the melodies of Castlevania. Of course, the main melody may be a little bit trouble, but I mean, it hits the balance. The mystery of who am I fighting, but also the sort of like, man, I'm fighting myself. And once again, sort of like how the fire is gone and Into the Fire contrast each other, we have another contrast between Claire de Lune and Versus. That bit, that's the bit main, you can see throughout. And then the sort of like guitar like so we have actually 3 drum layers: MIDI drums, almond breaks, and electronic drums. And here's the other bit. It just sort of plays throughout. And even a calm section within. Because it's also important to give the player, because the player is like, V2 is known as like sort of one of the first pure, like, true challenges. So it's important to like sort of insert these breaks so the player can have a bit of time to like mentally like put themselves back together. Oh. So you're fighting V2, you're running over the place. And it's like really self-fulfilling, because you at the same time you're wondering, why is this robot that's like doing similar stuff to me? And then, you know, just sort of like with the plain coolness of having a mirror fight, it's like while you're fighting your own like Shadow the Hedgehog, just not put too fine of a point on it. And you hear that? Oh, that starter guitar, like sort of cut up to, because you know V2 is a robot. Now, it may sound a little bit compressed, and that's because it is. The pure audio engineers and musicians, it doesn't bother me a little bit, but I mean, it doesn't mean the track isn't good. Because, you know, it's not always about the quality. That, and honestly, my ears are kind of shot from standing next to drums all day for like 4 years in a row. So my ear, I can't say that my ears are all too super keen picking up everything. Then I'm currently using some broken headphones. The end. You take out V2, they leave behind their arm, and you leave. Leading into cold wind. which is one of the actual intros. Some described as Paul stretch version of Soir de Ville. Wanted something during the background as you venture in the actual first proper layer of hell, lust. Some low-key, something that gives emotion, but won't distract you from seeing lust as a sprawling city, a fallen city. So, we go from moody songs to atmospheric. And then we have this. You hear that? That's the inspiration. That like sort of that chord. Just immediate has a more choir-like effect. Think you wanted to use it? However, it needed a sort of haze of a song to be put together. And here we are. There was gonna be some clean guitar, but I mean, it wouldn't fit. Thus leading to if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like throughout, as the music progresses, you can see Hikita getting more and more comfortable, which is like leading songs on. You're now standing atop giant buildings, or rather, more like stilts above giant buildings. Either way, you're way high up, fighting at death-defying heights. Finding a railgun, and here we go back to a more combat-heavy section. Now, those reverberated armor breaks, Hikita was actually iffy on keeping on, since it may make the flow inconsistent, but it really does. It doesn't really detract, and I'd like to say it adds. Like, it's sort of a later addition, but I mean, it works well to the drive. Cause like you're getting I think it helps represent the player getting acclimated to this new location. Like with the introduction of the almond breaks. You introduce yourself to lust. Maybe, just maybe, you start wondering, wow, I would not expect the layer for literal lust to look like this. A nice bisexual lighting, though. You keep going, you keep going. Yeah, you hear those like reverse drum beats. And like just that sort of like whistle-like song, it really sort of helps sell like how high up you are. But it also helps like create this like haunting air, because like this place looks like a complete city, but it's abandoned. And it helps lead into Requiem, another fan favorite. Couldn't find anything that just felt right, that just felt flat, uninteresting. So, he changed his approach and challenged itself by making it rely heavily on time signature changes. Mostly changes between 4/4 and 5/8, with some 7/8, 6/8 for layers. And like when you change up time signature like that, it really makes the song feel like it's moving. And it helps like with the climax, because like it helps you approach it. And there's something, and there'll be an important through line here. I want you to pay attention. But I mean, Okay, this. Now, I want you to remember that section. This will be on the test, but more importantly, you'll see that it'll come back later. As you can see, like, the main melody is just sort of more focused on chords, a sort of new one for the soundtrack. But yeah, that's kind of hard. So, come back in the guitars. Hoping for real violin, but that didn't work out. But you know, with how Old Winds immediately transitioned the Requiem, it sounded like, oh man, that was like designed to do that. No, it wasn't. Just another one of those happy coincidences, like a bit of the prelude sounding like E1 to M1 with the guitar riff. Look, here it is again. And like I said before, with when he started introducing a more melodic focus, and like Castlevania, like having this bit that the player can latch onto, it sort of drives him forward, like with the piano. But then we have Panic Betrayer, which oh yeah, because the piano, like a constant driving force, which, like, when you're doing like a more action-heavy game, it's important to have a driving force. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be percussion, just something that like sort of drives forward, and that change time switch that helps too. Now, okay, I played this one a little too early by accidentally turning on shuffle, but here we have Panic Betrayer. Another longer level, we have to go find some like skulls and put them in places. So, while Requiem used a lot of time signature changes, this goes further. Use some more interesting, unorthodox timing signatures. Make it sound more chaotic. Make it sound intense. Make it sound just tense in general. So here we are. These synths were originally supposed to be a little bit more varied, but I mean, you know, once again, a situation of like, man, that sounds good. I don't really need to change it. Like, don't mess it up. There's also supposed to be some bass, but I mean, the synths are already doing this. Like, that would be a bass guitar, but I mean, like I said, the role is already filled. Yeah, so the player is just literally scrambling all over the place, because like because the level Panic Betrayer takes place in, or is used in, hot damn, it is a mess and a half. Having you run all over the place, like going this way, that way. An arena where the floor is made out of saws or grinders, so you're having to jump all over the place to avoid getting hit. Look each and every way for which corner an enemy may be in. Like, oh, I'm being chased. Like, oh, like, huh? And then like the Mind Flayer introduced as like a boss enemy. The teleporting behind you, like in the big like central area where there's some water. We like look all over the place. Oh no. Again. Ow. Help me. But yeah, no, just completely chaotic, especially with like that unorthodox sort of time signature really helping push it forward. Or they give it a feeling to push it forward, and thus dragging the player along with it. But I mean, much like how you have complete complete and utter destruction of the senses. Between this and the next level, which is the boss level for Lust, you have another track that sort of like is like a sort of defuse, although maybe not completely. And you will know, you'll see what I mean once we reach it. I mean, yeah, the play. But also, while we're waiting, actually, no, let me just talk about my experience. So I remember when I was playing this level, and just like, I remember the sudden complete stylistic difference of this song just kind of throwing me off. I found myself just like sort of looking more and more, like just in general, because like a mood influences behavior, and when I mean mood, I mean musical mood, and it kind of sets like a tonal mood, which that's what it changes behaviors. And then, in the presence of a king, much like Claire de Lune, we have just another track where the entire purpose is to just like create a separation between this and the next, in gameplay and in music. You may be like, huh, this sounds kind of familiar. Isn't it just the beginning of Cold Wind? It's actually just even more modulated version. And I mean, it's just in a tunnel with like a single tram that you control. So the point is self-evident. The pathway, the tunnel's kind of dark. You don't know what's happening. So what was once calming, or at the very least giving like a mood setting up, like it still kind of has that like lead-up feeling, but a bit. Ooh, something's wrong. Something is wrong. Something just ain't right. And I remember feeling that. I was going through and was like, just looking behind my back, just like unsure, like, is an enemy gonna spawn behind me when I pick up this skull needed for this? I go all the way out, I go out of the way for it. Be perfect time to ambush. No. Once again, it's just a forced break, but unlike Claire de Lune, this one still keeps you on your toes. Because it's so tight and so narrow, you expect something to happen. Oh, what's this? A drone? Oh no. And here we have the meeting with the king. We are truly in the presence of a king. Throughout the entirety of Lust, you've seen his giant body lumbering around. And now, you've nothing to do but gaze upon it. King Minos is here. His corpse. An uncontrollable husk, destroying that which he built. And then this video is a little bit rushed because he's being sort of scurried around, hurried along the early access in time for like an event. So here we are. So just a simple like driving force. Because you're not exactly fighting a fast, nimble V2 here. No, you're fighting a giant. You're fighting a former king. Literally just swinging his fist at you and shooting an occasional void. Sort of slow and steady, he's kind of the pace he's forced to go at. And this really helps sell it. at least it feels more industrial, because this was the man who helped build the city, now destroying. A peaceful, loving king, the former judge of hell, into its destroyer, at least destroyer of lust. Sad end for a sad man. Or rather, it would be. Now, okay. The actual next section, and like Hakita's little write-ups, actually puts Guts and Glory together. Here we have Guts, the first layer, or the first level, or for the first bit for Gluttony. We're done with lust now.
The wheel of fate is turning!
Oh, hey. Ticket 1020. Howdy. Either way, what was I? Oh yeah. So, Guts. You can feel it, okay, this will be much easier compared to later. So, you know, just go through it a bit. But I mean, well, I was just supposed to give a general trivia. Both it and Glory were originally, one of the many failed attempts at trying to create Requiem, or at least its climax. One of the first, like, proper theme for, one of the first themes for Lust. So change the pitch a bit, try to see if you can find a fitting thing for Gluttony, and there, Bob's your uncle. And you're like, huh, this feels a bit slowed down. But I mean, you're going through this dark, like, guts, literally guts looking place, hence the name Guts. The entire place is dark and filled with eyes and hands and bones and meat, as in like the internal organs kind of meat. It just feels a bit. It's dramatic, sure, but I mean a little bit dull, especially with like the mood. Like, yeah, it's dramatic, but I mean, like, you can already feel it already. Just a little bit like, huh. Because the thing with slowdown, where just kind of that garbled effect it gives. It's a layered thing. A player can get used to it. And I say layered as in, like, the effect of slowing down in and of itself the player gets used to. And especially with how many times it's been used. And just, like, in games and just music in general. You know, it's fine. It's fine. So, why don't we go back to the original tempo? We stop him from being slowed down. Oh, you hear that? No, hold on. What's that? What's that sound? Yeah. Nah, nah, nah. Nah, 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 nah. Maybe not the exact same, but it's like a slight variation of, but it's damn near the same melody used throughout Requiem. Hence, it's in which you can see, or rather, you can see as a sort of through line, because like a thematic through line. Because common misconception is that Gluttony is inside King Minos. It's just more of a fancy transition. But with a later track, you'll see there is a nice through line. But yeah, so Hakita decided to, to get rid of the sameness feeling that just using Guts did. We put it back at its original speed, and then we got Glory. It was going to be originally extended a bit, but I mean, nah. It was already extended with the piano. The piano. It has a climax because this is originally the end of Act 1. Like, this is leading up to the end of Act 1. But yeah, so but it's sort of like a climax. It's like you can feel it as a climax because of all of the lead up, like the stuff from Requiem, the piano, like slowing down, speeding up. Yeah, it's not quite the same, but it is similar enough for you to like to have that through line. Bach, BW, Bach, 639. I call to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Of course, I mean it's not an original bit, but I mean, this of course is not an original part of Bach, but I mean it's needed. It's sort of like how the intro to Into the Fire has it. Yeah, here it is. It's just some, low notes on a MIDI choir with a second layer. Create some dissonance. He actually found this through the Andrei Tarkovsky film Solaris, where it's used extensively. Of course, all the more fitting as you fight your first purely angelic foe, Gabriel, Judge of Hell, speaking to you from afar, telling you to turn back. That you are a mere object, not welcome to hell. To turn back or face destruction. To be rent apart until you are into pieces and rendered inanimate. But it has this bit of mystery. Of course, there's the holiness of the person calling himself who's like, of course, some sort of angelic figure, some sort of, at the very least, relating to God. And the mood of this gives you just enough to just to tickle the thoughts in your brain to thinking, who is he? Especially since we haven't really had such a holy sounding piece before this. It's sort of like, it's not really so cheery. It's not really cheery as most like sort of religious music either. Like I said, it tickles the area, the brain, because what makes you ask is because this sounds mysterious. Makes you think. And then, of course, divine intervention. The fight with Gabriel, Judge of Hell. This is a very important song to find the right piece of. It's originally supposed to be longer, but I mean, it sort of fits for Gabriel. Cut it short and you have 2 sections. Because it's supposed to, you don't want too many cooks to spoil the soup. Because a constant design idea is less is more. Which is like, you can see with me. Simple, like, lots of, like, you can see I'm like a few colors, like 5. The browns, the red, the blue, the black, the yellow. Sometimes simple is better. Now, once again, this isn't related to the Requiem and Glory stuff we talked about earlier. Something else. And then here we go, cycling back again. So you have this main sort of driving force. Gabriel's fighting you, just, I don't know, calling you blasphemous and the like. Yeah, keep these tunes in mind. You know, here we are. Like simple is more. Like, it's short. I mean, the pieces connect so well together. So like an Ouroboros, where you can't tell where it begins or ends. Or rather, it just sort of keeps going and going. So it just sort of loops. So it doesn't really feel repetitive, as you focus too much on Gabriel himself. And speaking of Gabriel, disgrace, humiliation. Now we go from a track we hear while doing gameplay to the first track where we have no gameplay interaction with since, well, the fire is gone. This was actually a divine intervention, a failed divine intervention, but just slowed down in a music box. Something just simple to play in the background that wouldn't distract too much while you're reading the text from in the end of Act 1, as Gabriel is judged by the Council of Angels. Or just the Council of Angels. You can feel the failure, the judgment, disappointment in himself, disappointment from his peers, disappointment he feels from God, or he thinks it's from God. Now, I apologize. Oy. And you can even feel it a bit shaky. Oy, come on. Because, Gabriel is. He is never lost. It originally wasn't gonna be in here, but I mean, it needed to be. Now here we go. Take care. It was originally from a music project called The Caretaker. Taking old jazz recordings and try to manipulate them and make them eerie and create, an atmosphere out of that. Now we have this public domain old-time jazz recording, Were You Foolin', by the Russ Morgan Orchestra. We got some clips, made them loop. Here we are. One is actually the soundtrack release actually uses two. One is for the shot, which is the beginning of each level, and one is actually used for the cyber grind, which and also the score screen for cyber grind. Did so well, combined to one. Yeah, it sells its purpose of being sort of implaceable and old. Because, I mean, really, that's what it is. Like, these little shops supposed to be, they exist after humanity's complete death. And probably were originally for human hands. Unless they weren't. I mean, that's just a guess. Either way, they give you sort of this old-timey, like, old world feeling. Because you can also find, hello, sticker. Yeah, so you get, it gives you this sort of implaceable feeling of times long gone, but yeah, it's still here. That, and like, I mean, like I've said for a bunch of other similar tracks, like Claire de Lune, sort of the beginning of In the Presence of a King. It's just used to create this barrier. Echo now. And remember how I said this track, how I said Hikita sort of combined this track with the Cyber Grind version? Or the regular in-game version with the, yeah, I guess it's both regular in-game. Like the sort of main level version with the Cyber Grind version. Let's listen to the Cyber Grind bit. Not actually created by Hikita, but by an artist known as Mega Neko. So one of the original concept artists of Ultrakill, Big Rock, was actually their fan of Mega Neko, and noticed they were following Ultrakill. So the concept artist sent an email if they'd be interested in collabing. Akita hadn't heard of them before, but you know, it's one of those happy coincidence deals. Because man, the Cyber Grind theme, and I'm glad too, because yeah, the Cyber Grind theme is something. Like, I've described some tracks as chaotic and like a mess, but like, oh, this is insane. Constantly shifting walls, enemies spawning all over the place. The player just, yeah, this intense. This was originally a mood piece. This was originally a mood piece to see, like, you know, the kind of vibe Ultrakill was going for. But I mean, Akita ended up liking so much, they decided to base the, you know, the full piece on this. And you may think like, oh, okay, so this track was just made for Cyber Grind. No, no, no. Cyber Grind was made for this track. Because like you feel it, like different genres as like, you know, it's like a sort of waves. Like the original and then that heavy bass, the heavy bit that just happened. Now in here with the guitars. It's like a wave after wave after wave, the player enduring them all. And then there we go. Cyber Grind's wave mode, the Cyber Grind wave mode. So, you know, some back and forth iterations. Here it is now. And apparently, Mega Neko is a more meticulous artist. Where Hikita is like spends little time in the main Ultrakill pieces. But yeah, some people call this like the best song on Ultrakill, and you can see when most people like use it in like videos to talk about like Ultrakill, like yeah, kind of. At the very least, it's like the most like well produced, I guess, or more detailed. Just like be the best way. He just says like it's a good thing it's near the album because it would have made mine look so sort of weak and impotent. But I mean, originally there was gonna be a sort of previous version of the Cyber Grind to use. That could have been a toggle, but Mega Neko didn't want to have unfinished work using. They wanted to like use unfinished work, which, you know, is another difference between like Akita knows it's a difference between them, because a lot of tracks in Ultrakill make use of like ripped apart pieces of previous work of Akita's that either didn't fail or like was an unfinished version later retooled into something else. It's interesting. Yeah, like every section of the Cyber Grind, it just has its own varied identity. Like I'd say this is like the fourth or fifth bit. Like we already had like a sort of guitar section. Guitar, come on. But I mean, yeah, it really sells Cyber Grind being this wave focused thing, because every section of this track, of like, well, yeah, the track Cyber Grind, is like, ooh. Like, it's just long enough and varied enough for each section to, like, really help, you know, not overstay its welcome. Oh, it just ends. You know, after that, we just have simply the fire is gone again. Fire is gone is what we started with. The fire is gone is what we end with. Well, this time it's just music box. Now the secret missions end with like this like terminal with like a sort of like dialogue from like a thing. I'm not gonna talk too much about that. Don't want to spoil y'all. But this is what's used for it. It's simple. Hey boy. It's nice and simple. It's literally just a music box version. I mean, get some player to do. I mean, to like listen to after the weird secret levels. But I mean, really, that's all I got. Kind of like Kita said. I mean, there's not much to say. So I'm gonna let this play out while I just take a stretch as I get ready for like the next for Act Two's tracks. Alrighty. So I mean, yeah, that's Act One. Very interesting. Though, of course, we still have like 60 more tracks to go to. And honestly, most of the thoughts I have are about imperfect hatred, which is this thing. Since I'm all of like Act One, sort of use that as the music thing. And where is it? Oh wait, no, yeah. First things first. Because in wait, no actual things to talk about here, like behind the scenes work. Just sort of the tracks itself. But either way, in Gluttony, we have Chaos Order. Or well, the album's called that. LP. It's 4 songs, and it's all for the P level. We have the Spinal Staircase. Literally just a giant spine. You've perfected every level. You got P rank, you did them fast, you killed everything, you did it stylishly. What do you find? You got a torch, and you going down a really tall spine, swirling down to the abyss. With this playing. And it's literally called, the track is literally called The Spinal Staircase. I can't say that it's too comforting, but I mean, all the morphine, right? You perfected everything, right? Only fair that something will be much more challenging will be coming, and only more fair that that challenge would have the appropriate mood. However, it comes up, what comes next is not something most people would know, or rather would expect. What would one expect? A monster, a man, a cube of flesh? Chaos, pure chaos. Half of the tracks here, the first half of the boss theme, chaos. This thing shooting lasers, shooting bullets, making eyes that heal itself. This thing is a monster. Like, complete use of dissonance. Which, I mean, all the more fitting. It's called chaos, ain't it? Put on the smart glasses. Like, even the use of the quiet, like, combined with just the complete loudness. It's sort of like a more well-maintained version of complete, like, destruction of the senses. You got some of those old guitars from, like, the Prelude. Like, even, like, just like the melody is, like, all chopped up. It's all over the place. And, like, it really, like, helps sell the fact that, well, it is chaos. Like, something and you're fighting the flesh prison, and whatever's in there is fighting like hell. It really helps sell the fact, like, the chaos a bit, because God knows the player is all over the place. Whether it's like the focus all over the place, or you know, bits of them are splattered all over the boss room. But I mean, like, there's a beauty to chaos. Like how Akita said, like how utter destruction of the senses could like introduce people to noise music. And yeah, here's the guitar again. Like, you can kind of hear it as like part of like Prelude's China soundtrack. And then you defeat the Flesh Prison. After chaos, there is order. And then you have this little bit that's like, you know, you defeat the Flesh Prison, out comes a familiar face. Minos, yet again? But not his body. Not his body controlled by parasites. Minos Prime. The very soul of Minos manifests into a body, held within the Flesh Prison to keep it out of everywhere else in hell. You released him. He's thankful, but he must destroy you. He gives a speech, and here we are. Like, it kind of like a similar thing that was used in like Flesh Prison. But more importantly, there's like this melody. Remember what I said? Pay attention to that bit in Requiem and that bit's in Glory. It will come back, and here it is. It provides a nice sort of through line from like you get it in Requiem, where it's sort of like Minos' lament over his destroyed city, to Glory and Gluttony, close to where Minos is trapped, and then here we are, in order, fighting Minos himself. All twinged with their own emotions, but all connecting to Minos. I like to think like the melody, it's sort of like its own emotive through line. constantly shifting and changing, but always having that same underlying thing. And you may go like, oh, Tuba, but that wasn't it. And you're right, it wasn't. It's indicative of it, but a much stronger reference is coming up. Or rather, the melody itself is coming up. Okay, well, it's not here. Hey. And, like, once again, you get that driving force, but I'll keep it kind of simple and low-key, because Minos is actually a rather simple boss. Okay, here. Like that here, like the very through line from Requiem and Glory. Like it's a through line. And it leads you back to, like, it connects you from lust to gluttony to here, the prime sanctum, which is, you know, well, within gluttony. It provides this nice sort of like thematic like drive from Minos. Like, you know, we use the motif that Akita mentioned, while not able to be while not exactly as productive as being used throughout the same levels, like the same level set, when used throughout different level sets, I think it does work, and as well Akita's show. The melody is used, that like leitmotif is used. But yeah, I mean, this song is like 7 minutes long. Excuse me. I'm not sure what else I can say about it. I mean, I suppose, talk about how it is with Minos. Like, okay, so it's not nearly as chaotic, like, compared to Splash version, because, like, it kind of can't be. It's dramatic, it's epic. I don't mean that, like, all epic. I mean, like, epic as in, yeah, it's a fight between a legend and you. Or, I mean, I suppose if you have perfected everything at that point, you kind of are a legend in your own, right? The details. Either way, Minos, I describe him as actually a more low-key boss. Because he's fighting, he's like about the size of a person, and just like literally rushing all over the place, swinging at you with his bare fist. Now, granted, he can do like launch like fist projectiles at you, but I mean, at the end, it's still kind of like a melee. And also, there it is again. So as you're fighting this through line, it's like with that melody appearing again, it's like Minos is still fighting for lust. So you have the theme of lust itself. You have it appearing in gluttony, as like Minos sort of like his very struggles, lament, like showing his lament for what happened in lust, to him like still fighting for lust, and even in the end, it's still what he fights for. Even lamenting in the very end, he's failed his children. He could not protect them. Doomed to the darkness. Once a tragic figure, dying but 3 deaths. And then, actually, this is actually not at all from it. This is actually from an update that added a sort of the secret level to like this is the secret level to It's just a secret level, man. I got nothing else to say. It's a visual novel. You're playing. It's called Sunshine, and it's like Mirage, and then yeah, this is just playing during the entire like virtual novel section. I mean, but yeah, this is like the actual like secret level. That's also, but still in the, also in limbo. All right, no, it's not in limbo. It's in lust, which I mean, yeah, only fitting the dating, dating minigame thing. Secret level is here. Like, yep. Yeah, you essentially find a anime girl. Well, yeah, no, anime girl V1 named Mirage. You have this like discussion about the nature of human psyche and the like potential like nihilistic view created by like wondering if one's actions truly means anything in the infinite vast cosmos, self-actualizing, creating your own purpose for living. And here we are. And then it sort of resets back to this is like the part where you convince, you go on this whole huge spiel about like, yeah, decide your own purpose to live. Like, we have no purpose, which gives us like greatest potential of making our own. But at the end, it's just kind of it's still the virtual novel bit of Ultrakill, which I can't knock on it too much. But I mean, it just is what it is. I don't know what to say. But you know, that's that. And then I guess I gotta change this now. Now we change it to proper Act 2. Imperfect hatred. There we go. This is what was used for, or I mean, it's just what is used for the first bit, or for the greed layer. Because now we're going down to the next layer. Insert disc 2. It's just literally a preamble. And this just plays during the this is what plays during the act transition sound as you go from Act 1 to 2. So this is literally you changing disc. You know, like how they would. It's a little bit before my time, but also like it's more like I got into console gaming like right when it was phasing out of having to need multiple discs. But Dune Eternal. We return back to a sort of riff-heavy style. Sort of a nice, like, after becoming worried about it during... Hold on, this thing is way too small. Worried about it during the prelude. Return back to it to see how far, you've improved as an artist, skillfully. But I mean, as a sort of consequence, Sing is focused more on riffs and melodies, as you can hear. You get more of these riffs. Wait. More of these riffs than anything else. But I mean, you eventually hit these harmonic horns as you see the pyramid off in the distance that, well, the people in greed are off, trapped on using. And then, so we have this, like, dissonant quiet off in the song. sort of like helping it end. You know, okay, I get timing wise, I don't have these commentary bits lined up. Yeah, we have a bit of melody, but still, you know, mostly focusing on riffs. But yeah. So we go from like just, you know, we go from just like polyrhythms. Yeah, you hear that the almond break? And oh, the harmony of the choir. And then we go from one section to the next. Interesting is interesting, right? It's sort of like a progression from like less constant time signature changes. So we just have, you know, we've just got polyrhythms now. Because, you know, what else is to do than just to toy with the music? So at the end, that's what happens. When you're trying to figure out what to do creatively, then the options to start trying doing something new, add a spin on it. Because music is interesting. So, like, you get these bass, you know, these sort of bass solos. Very interesting. So a stylistic choice, which Akita admits is just due to liking the sound. Mostly how it like was used by the band Cynic. And yeah, I gotta admit, it does really help fit the like this desert theme, because it's important to sell the fact that, you know, we are in fact in a desert. Hot sand, hot sun. Oh boy. And well, needless to say, you know, Dune Eternal. I mean, it's pretty obvious what that's a riff on. But I mean, the next track, which we're about to finish this one. Yeah, so yeah, it's like, once again, just to summarize this song, riffed heavy, and just trying to give that player the initial experience of being in a desert. And here we have that, like, that sort of this bit that was used to transition between MIDI and like electronic drums. But we go from Dune Eternal to Sands of the Tide. This was actually the first track made for, well, Green. I sound so confused. You know, this was the first attempt at trying to capture desert sound, kind of like how we had like Cerberus as like the first actual Ultrakill song. But with these flute and this like sort of bounciness, it's a little bit too bouncy to be the opener. So he left the opening and then went off to make Dune Eternal. And originally it was like originally thought to be two cartooning, but you have these almond breaks and the guitar, which makes it just, you know, just fit in enough to pass by. You know. But honestly, I kind of like how the flute, like, you can sort of clearly hear it and identify it. And I like to think of it as like a driving force, because it kind of influences everything around it. Because it's sort of going with the flute's direction. And then like this. Like that bouncing melody. Like, that's that real bounciness. So it almost felt a little bit too goofy. But I mean, I like to think it helps it sell it out. Sell it out. It helps sell the feeling that, man, yeah, this is a desert. Especially since you're crossing over hot sands. And like the chaos kind of lends itself to like the gimmick introduced in the level. Because this is where the player can experiment more with the double firearm power up, where you get a second gun, or you potentially get a third, and potentially a fourth, if the player plays their cards right. And I can't think of anything more fitting than this song, where it's like it sort of just straddles the line between like being like really like dramatic or like actiony, but also just a little bit silly because now you just have 4 arms. Even more, and so you can still parry and use the knuckle blaster. So I personally think it fits in really well. And like in this song, you can like there's sort of banjo-y sound effect. What sound is gone? Oh, only to come right back. Which personally, I like the flute. I can't help but feel that it really is useful for driving the thing. Because like with all the sand you have to hop around and like avoid, I think this really helps sell what the play is supposed to do. Like, it's bouncy because you're literally supposed to be jumping around, avoiding the hot sand. So I mean, what better time to have a literally bouncy song? It's just sort of one of those like. I think it like works better than like one thinks. But then we have Dancer in the Darkness. We go from out in the hot sun to inside a temple. Or the dark one. Ooh. Now this song actually has like 3 sections. Because like a lot of songs in Ultrakill are actually sectioned. And certain parts loop until the player gets to a point in the level, and the next section starts looping. And you could really see this in the beginning of like in Greed, and especially later on in Act 2. And then as a challenge, Akita tried to restrict themselves from using the guitars or almond breaks on any of the 3. So, and then this thing is also wanted to be in an odd time signature, so we got 5-4. 4, 5. So this thing's in 5-4. 1, 2, 4, 5, 1. So, you know, 5-4, not very. I mean, it's traditional. It's still in the 4. I mean, it's usually in the when you're using 4, you try to keep it even. So, using 5-4 is definitely a stylistic challenge. And hello, Munya. Welcome to the Ultrakill music analysis. Yeah, first one was actually a homage to minimalist compositions. And then here we're in the section about where it's just trying to slightly up the intensity, but not quite. And then as sort of Hikita can't challenge himself to not use guitars, we have these low piano notes. It's just sort of like the middleman between heavily intense as the player's gearing up, fighting in the dark. Oh. Yeah, and then boom, the final section where you're in just like this, in this fucking light, like fucking rave room of a final arena. We have this organ climax. Because actually Akira was inspired by the Warhammer 40k Mechanics soundtrack. Inspiration. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I ain't inspired by things and try to use it in music. But I mean, after initially trying ways that would fit Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, it fit more that game, but not Ultrakill. So we tried to had to shift it to try and fit more Ultrakill's action heavy style. And I gotta say, that was one of the sections I was stuck in the most, and it was did its job all right. Yeah, that 5-4 also gets to play off the foot with like the sudden darkness, the crampedness. Very interesting, but and you can see as something that just Akira did a lot is to create lead-ups from one track to another. The ending of Dancer in the Darkness very well led into Duel. Which, Duel, huh, that sounds similar, and what's with this, you know, what's with this? This bass. This is actually the opening of a previous track at half speed. But it's a reprise of verses from Act 1. More intense, less electronic, more guitars, more heavy. We're going from verses, which is one of the most popular songs in the game. And then, like the old Akira style, this song was banged out just not that long before the update launched. But I mean, since it's a reprise, the verses was still used as a sort of backbone. Some riffs here, some sections there. Take some sections and lay on melody. See that? Now, this fight or this track actually has 2 bits. You see that little guitar bit from all the way back in verses? It's here again. Yeah, this is yeah, like he just said, it's essentially just verses but with more built on top of it. And then originally this is like this is the loudest song on Act 2 in Act 2. Akira originally tried making it sound a little bit quieter and in line with the other tracks for Greed. But I mean, it just sort of took away that power of it. And like, you need to feel like the music here. Like, if you can't feel this in your chest, then it's like you need to sell the feeling, because it's a rematch between a person who is essentially you but better. V2's back. They have a new arm. They got more weapons, more tricks up their sleeves, and that lead up into the guitar section, even more dynamic. Just adding more and more on top of it. So it does clip in a bit in some spots, but I mean, it adds to the feeling. It makes it sound more meaty, more intense. But that also fits well because the original version of Versus was actually a little bit compressed. And that drone we heard in the beginning was actually from a Tapura, or rather, sound font. So, but it's a tempura, not a sitar. Very important to notice. But yeah, so at this point, the player is now just surfing down the side of a pyramid, chasing after V2, being like, "Oh, you're not getting away this time," and you're just literally sliding all over the place, just trying to shoot at each other, shooting rail guns, throwing coins up the air, and shooting at each other. Like, it really is intense. Because, I mean, this is the proper final match with V2. Unless, you know, they somehow appear in Act 3, which I doubt. But you can, like, hear all the, like, because, like, it's a reprise of Versus. You can hear. Oh, you know, you hear that? Like, a little bit of a slide. And, like, you have the choir overlaid in the background, and like, where you're surfing down the side of a pyramid. The second section is just sort of like, you just add a little bit more. And, like, these bits where it leads to guitar, like, just, like, even more, like, dynamics, even more intensity, even more complexity. But, like all things, it ends. And once again, the slowed down version of the intro and the tempura again. V2 was taken down, broken on the ground. You take their arm again. Now you have the whiplash. And this just goes on for a bit as the player just learns how to use the whiplash. Just sort of like still sort of reeling from the V2 rematch. When the soundtrack, it starts, you know, going on. It's like, oh, okay. Now what? Tell you what. Deep blue. Oh, now it's got too big again. Help. We go from greed to wrath. River Styx were those who fought violent and had a violent death. Well, it's more like just the violent general. Those who are guilty of wrath. This is where they fight forever and ever. The river Styx turned to an ocean Styx, the extinction of humanity. Arms sticking out. The river, now an ocean overflowing with souls. The firemen unable to take so many coins, not even having coins to begin with. I saw a complete tonal shift. But I mean, the piano from this, once again, from a 2016 song Hakita made called The Abyssal. Double speed with the same pitch, since it was much slower, which much Hakita's music was at 2016, slower. But these almond breaks were actually an addition to sort of give the Wrath trailer a bit of bite to it, give it some excitement, but people really seem to like it. But which sort of made a bit of a problem of like, okay, I'll just add a bit of this, and then the song just remained in sort of limbo as Act 2 tried near completion. Originally, it was supposed to be collaged. A sort of collage of old music, like how Kita did for Shattered Illusion. Excuse me. And this second section of a song is just, here. It's just sort of a fused up version of two different songs. Sort of the guitar in the background, also from the Abyssal where the piano is from. And these piano riffs are just an even older song back from 2014. But, you know, instead, Akira just, you know, scrapped that and said, okay, I can't do that. Just make it yourself. And then here we are. Get new synth melodies and we'll focus on the armor breaks. Like this. Like we have this and like how it did earlier when it dropped out during sort of slower moments. It just, you know, it sort of whips between calm and like calm waters and crashing waves. Fitting for Wrath. Fitting for now being underwater. Now granted, it's interesting to notice that part of this song was actually is muffled because whenever you're underwater in Ultrakill, it, well, muffles the song. And then here's another bit. And this is just sort of a the saxophone player is actually Quetzal Tiago, a sort of a saxophonist that Akita met through a mutual friend, which they sort of helped earlier with Chaos, and then here's a saxophone. But since her contributions to Chaos were a bit subtle, this was just sort of fulfilling a promise of giving her a bigger role. But you know, it's waited for on a whole year. But I mean, it's sort of a freeform jazz compared to being exact rhythm. It's sort of a clash between two creator styles. Because, you know, freeform jazz is sort of the opposite of rhythm. So, what Quetzal did is they recorded a bunch of improv tenor sax takes, and you know, Hakita just took the bits that fit well. We've got this rain leading to the next track. Why does it keep putting me here? He is the light in my darkness. Oh, and also, yeah, in the light and darkness. This was a sort of one of the first tracks Akita made after taking to return to songwriting, because after like I said, Akita took a sort of like a hiatus with trying to write Deep Blue, and then Akita made the soundtrack for White Hell between then and now, or then and leading up to Act 2. Act 2 is released, so he done it for White Hell, but I mean nothing for Ultrakill. So the original idea is have this focus on more percussion like Deep Blue. I mean, this is more just a complete ensemble. Sort of ghostly, leading to intensity. A fight with the ferryman on his very own boat. This is a 5/4, or potentially 5/8. He can't remember. We have this ghostly whistling. Going well with the very own ferryman's just sort of chaotic movements is flowing everywhere. So you feel that. So once again, like the other tracks, this wasn't recorded till a few weeks back before the release. But I mean, with the chopped almond breaks, Hikita feels good about him. And then we got this a bit as you you beat the ferryman's first half, you go to the second one. It changes to 3/4 or potentially 6/4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 and 4. It gives a feeling of balance as the player gets the upper hand. So it makes the player feel more in control by making the music feel more steady. And then so we have some ambiance, like with the rain earlier. And then, okay, I have to change the picture again. We end up inside the ferryman's boat from that fight. No, that's not it. There we go. Yes, Odyssey. Now you're inside the boat. And as you can see from this picture, this is where the player finds a rocket launcher. Yeah, this is a more... when Akita trying a more electronic song. Like similar to Deep Blue, where classical music was sampled. But, you know, New Blood didn't like that, so... Akita went back on with just focusing on melodies. Like, you can feel here. Once again, more sort of troubled writing process, and like this, like the style of the song goes everywhere. So you can feel it here. It's like sort of piratey. And like, yeah, it feels consistent now, but later bits of the song, it's just sort of, it just feels different. But like here, it just feels like a more complete version. As a player, just like fights more crowded groups of enemies. It's like seafaring or like flamenco, where it's like, you know, sort of swashbuckling, fighting on a ship, like ahoy. Like yeah, this. And like in this. But it's also like, it just sort of has this, now it just has all of this big jazz feel. I mean, it kind of fits in a way. Hey. So, wait, give me a second. My brain is like... Ow. Ow. Okay, so we loop again. And like, I mean, like I said, it's just a loop. Like, we sort of have a return to that swashbuckling feel. But, oh, now we're quieter. Now you can see, this is, I think this is like the best part, where that sort of swashbuckling jazzy bit combines well. There's sort of jazzy melodies with like sort of like swashbuckling kind of like theme. Like it flows and crashes like the water itself. But contrary to this, during any time while you're listening to Death's Odyssey, it doesn't actually, you don't actually have the rocket launcher. And like, this is where it's just like big and bombastic and intense. And like, you can feel like these like sort of after effects to the sounds. Like, it feels like it's getting heavier, but also sort of lagging along. Which, I mean, I think I like it. It gives it more of a presence. Especially as, like, at one point you just see, like, a giant sea monster pass by. And then here it goes, like, with the piano, which, like, more of that complete jazzy feel. But it sort of gives it, like, a sort of climactic feel, which I kind of like. And then here's that lead up again. Back to the guitar, with, like, a sort of, like, trumpet sound. Personally, I think it leads up well enough into one bit to the other to, like, make the whole song fit well. And then here we go. This Odyssey Aftermath. You got the rocket launcher. The ship has literally flipped over. These what Aftermath does. It takes the main sections, takes sections from the main song, and it sort of puts them more in a string quartet style, and sort of tunes it to be more melancholic. Because you can feel like here. So you can just sort of feel like something is ruined, something's wrong. And yeah, this is one of the last sort of like bastions for hope, for help. Just completely upturned. But yeah, the beginning, there's actually 3 versions of this song compared to the usual calm combat variations of other songs. Because like, it starts off with like even more minimalist approach as a sort of transition. But yeah, we literally transitioned when that little gong hit. So now we're just in a regular calm section. Hey. Or rather, that's how it works in the game. It's been a little bit since I've listened to the actual soundtrack versions. But yeah, the ship is flipped over on its, like, completely on its upside down now. The player's like trying to figure out where to go, like the backtracking. Things are flooded, starting to flood. It also beginning to use how they use the rocket launcher. So also slowing down the song also helps the player, like, you know, get their bearings. The player is just like sort of going along, making sure they like, okay, so I can shoot enemies in the air. They only explode if I directly hit them. Airborne explosions do more. So the player is just sort of testing, poking and prodding with their new rocket launcher. While this Odyssey comes to an end. We move on to the next thing. A fierce beast. The Abyss and the Serpent. Now, the chimes you hear here actually summoned the ferryman ship back in the previous level. Or the second level of Wrath. And you can also hear them back. You can also hear these back in He is the Light in My Darkness. See? There's like just to be clear, Hakita says there's no lore for this. It's just cool. And like, because it sort of helps that ethereal feeling. Because when you start this level, because the ship has been capsized and sunk sunk to the bottom of the sticks, so it'll help like sell this ethereal feel, especially when you see lightning, like lightning in the sky above you, light up the Leviathan's body. Yeah, this intro is literally just this same chime at different speeds, and sometimes even reversed. But this was written in an evening. Oh, it's waiting for like the Leviathan. So we go from, but Akita wanted to break from the metal, so we go orchestral for this thing. Sort of Dark Souls like you're fighting a giant monster thing. Look how dramatic it is. Though since it's like an orchestral track made in MIDI, it's a bit limited. But I mean, and like you can hear a bit of music box. But you're fighting a literal biblical beast. And like, yeah, church bell, you know? Like, you listen to the guitar. Like when it does that again. Listen. Listen. Like, they shift from ear to ear. It was like left, right? Yeah, that church bell and like the music box, they kind of help sell the sort of eldritch nature of this beast. Because, I mean, Leviathan isn't one creature. It's many. It's souls of wrath. Those who've given up the fight. Stay at the top of the water. And with how overflowing Styx is, more and more do. That's how you get such a great beast such as the Leviathan. Leviathan that would appear at the end of days. Leviathan that would consume all. In reality, it is dramatic, but I can't say the actual boss fight makes up for it. Honestly, no, I'm wrong. It does, because it's more of a climax. Like, it's more supposed to be climactic than hard, I think. I mean, not to say that it is easy. Okay, yeah, right. Okay, listen. Left, right. But it's also quieted down in this section. Interesting. Yeah, you just find a Leviathan, you're stuck on a wooden platform, it's spitting bullets at you, swinging its tail, going for bites. Maybe you ride its back. Maybe you use the whiplash or the rockets you just got. You just surf. The options really are yours. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it sells more, less the intensity of the fight, more the scale of the fight. If that makes sense. Ugh, man, I'm getting tired. Just like 6 more songs. Because I'm not gonna talk about the little sneak preview track. Because I want to relate this to the actual gameplay. And I don't really have anything for the newest track. Like shown as like a. What I can't tell you is that it's yeah, hold on. Ooh, I can only catch my breath. What I can tell you is that it is like the newest track here shown off. Is that it's supposed to be a bit for. I mean, that's what it's saying, showing, but I mean, probably better to use this. There we go. But I mean, what was I saying? Sorry, just let my brain run for a second. I've been doing music analysis for 3 hours. Help. I think it's not 3 hours. Yeah, 3. Okay. Chord of the Cricket Saints. Yeah, the newest song. It's like it's also it's another song made by somebody else, Keygen, and it's good. That's what I can say. Okay. I mean, yeah, this is just a chord of sounds fading in and out as the player goes through. This main journey here, it's just one tone really stretched out. Originally, it's another thing just like repurposed for later, like Kid used. When in fighting, it compresses and distorts like this. There are also many additional layers, such as a gong hit at the beginning, which decays over like 20-30 seconds. And then more gong loops fading in and out, like you can hear right now, with some cymbal flares. And some even more just like general sound ambience gotten from when you turned off the sun in like the second level of Greed for that secret. It's taken from that and like slowed down a bit. But yeah, it's this thing is like fully experimental and just like supposed to sell the mood, because you're not in a layer of hell, you're in a heresy. Once again, another introduction to a new genre. First was noise music. Here we are to drone music. Ooh. Yeah, it's supposed to make you feel something and feel strong. Yeah, you hear that? Those little sounds. Those are from second level of Greed. We turned up the sun. My nose. Either way, after that we have Altars of Apostasy. Apostasy. Either way, and yeah, and then yeah, that kind of cut off. Like, it's supposed to be like you fall down on a tube and it's like, and then it suddenly starts. Over the past year or two, he's been in the black metal, so makes it for heresy. Since the idea of Amen Break Blast was too funny for him. This has the most guitar tracks and like overlaid in the game, with the most dense one having 7 at once. But yeah, welcome to Altars of Apostasy. Welcome to what probably could be described as like the video gamey hell. Now, this is kind of like a reprise of Glory, which, I mean, would, excuse me. Like you can sort of hear now. Yeah, it's heavy and intense, which, I mean, it goes well with Heresy. It's also heavy and intense, going from complete darkness to just like blood red skies, like completely black architecture, and here's Glory. I gotta turn this up a little bit, just because I like it. And then like experimental break is that like slowing down and coming back. But yeah, this wasn't originally in the song, but it was put in afterwards. After it would give like a bit of an emotional fit to the song. Like the song is very heavy and emotionally dark, so like the sort of lighter tone and just like nature of glory, it makes that contrast. And like it works wonderfully. No. Like the players hopping from the platform, dodging all these things. Like now that like going across a long stretch to kill an angel, going back killing a different, killing another angel. Enemies popping up on the platforms between. Maybe getting used out of the whiplash. Like it's intense. And then what it does later, like musically, is like even better. Like it elevates it. Because like it's like how it was mentioned, like sometimes less is more. Listen. Like just sort of ramping up. Like it's building up. You have some percussion. More guitars. And like this is what Hakita says, like it really helps emotionally. Like it's a huge central piece and it makes it feel so good. Like some kicking drums. And then it's not just Altars of Apostasy. It's also includes a song called Hall of Sacrilegious Remains, which is a reprise of Castlevania. It's a lucky coincidence because he wanted to bring back Swords Machine and Hideous Mask in 6.1. Then one of the beta testers for the level editor used Castlevania for an exciting moment, so he wanted to do them. So we have this more black metal style Castlevania where it just reintroduces Hideous Masses to the game. You can hear like the Castlevania. Like it's climactic. You're fighting two hideous masses. You beat one, oh, Swords Machine is back. Some enemies. Beat the other one, oh, Cerberus is back. It's like a complete refight against like Limbo. Like it's Limbo against Prelude. It's all like brought back. But the length of it, like the guitar solo sort of like looped on itself a little bit. But with the games, like the sort of looping nature of songs means it sort of leads well together. But then Fallen Angel. The last stretch here, folks. I mean, it's dramatic. It's sort of similar back to a previous track that Keaton wanted to use again. But it wouldn't want to be carbon copy, so here's an adaptation. Say hello to Fallen Angel. He didn't want, so we have like the same beginning. So it's like adaptation of the first couple. We have like a gambling instrument and then church organ. It's sort of like stripped down version of like of Gabriel's first song or introductory song. Like stripped away. That sort of purpose, that dogma that Gabriel had behind him the first time. The purpose. It's stripped down. It's simple. It's Gabriel himself. He's fighting you himself now because the council stripped him of like God's light for failing the first time. Now he's fighting you for personal revenge. What better heretical for an angel to seek revenge, isn't it? All the better for heresy. But I mean, sells the feeling of Gabriel just fighting you on his own, because he has nothing else for him. And then it leads Death of God's Will with Horns of Insurrection. This was 9 hours before the update came out. Someone in the Ultrakill Discord would bet a spoonful of toothpaste if they could make it good. He finished composing and sound fonting in 4 hours. But the guy who promised toothpaste disappeared. So I mean, this is mostly built like how V2's second theme was built off of Versus with Duel. Death of God's Will is built off of Divine Intervention. But rather, the minimalist approach with like the introduction theme, we have as Kia describes, a maximalist approach. Meaning it's like, it's even higher, because you know, Gabriel's now fighting all out. And like this rematch with Gabriel, he's going all out. It's faster, it's heavier. He's faster. He's attacking heavier. And like that bit, that really sells. Like how Gabriel is so into it. And you hear that slide. And then it loops back into itself. Like it really sells how Gabriel is like, is almost sort of individual, like actualizing. But yeah, then it just sort of loops in on itself. But this is sort of similar. So I just go back into Gabriel, or Gabriel if you want to pronounce it that way. It's sort of, the song is more intense, it's stronger. Because like I said, it's like a more amped up version of Gabriel. He's doing it like, because during his first fight, he didn't use his swords. Which the very first beginning of the part of this fight, like before leading up into it, he uses them. Like draws them out. And like you feel it climaxing, especially since it's the second fight where Gabriel is like, he's gotten less angry and just more into the fight. And like even these parts were silent, where it was silent before, it's just more intense now. Like it continue on, like silence isn't as there. And you can hear that, you can hear the slide again. And it loops back one more time. But this Death of God's Will actually includes another section called Horns of Insurrection. Which comes from actually another 2014 piece by Hikita called Blind Light Shattered the Stars. And then here we are. Here it is. Although technically this is the last piece of music in Act 2, he put it in the attached it to this because it fits well. And also there's no proper ending. There's no proper ending to the album otherwise, because the next two tracks are more calmer. But yeah, this is what the actual game ends on. As like the second bit finishes, or second interlude finishes, or intermission finishes, and it leads to silent introspection. You defeat Gabriel. He sits at a campfire. It's similar to Disgrace Humiliation, but more fleshed out and just sadder. And then once again, another addition to the album, to this album's soundtrack release. I could talk, right? Is that there's an actual ending put on, because otherwise it'd feel sort of incomplete for a soundtrack. And if that's one thing I gotta admire Hikita for, it's like going sort of extra mile, even for for music. But I mean, it's like I said, there's a ton of tracks under Heaven Piercer, so like I said, check that out. But yeah, so this plays during the first bit of the intermission of Act 2, after you beat Gabriel the second time. And it's sort of like, yeah, introspection is the better part. As in, like, it's science introspection, and it definitely fits the introspection bit. So it's that sort of song that was like, someone's like, makes you reconsider your life. Because that's what Gabriel's doing. He's thinking about everything he's done, the atrocities he's committed, the nature of the council itself, the things he's done. He looks at his blade, decides he'll have his own purpose, not led by the council, led by his own hand. Leading to Beethoven's 7th Symphony, second movement, Allegretto, an excerpt for piano. Nikita originally heard this back in the movie called Love Exposure. Or at least that's when he became aware of it. He's doing a monologue. Meaning it's like sort of like a sad, deterministic piece. Slow, measured. Nikita couldn't find a public domain orchestral cover. Though, a piano works as well. It continues that introspective piece, because this shows Gabriel going the extra step. Not only does he sever his tie with the council, he severs the council in general. But in doing so, including his second loss against V1, Gabriel is now doomed to die. Something the last surviving councilman makes sure he knows. That's a sort of desperate plea to save his life. His own life. Gabriel simply says, I know. Off with his head. This is Gabriel sort of just lamenting on the very institution he helped promote. Dismantling it from the very top, cutting the heads off the Hydra. And just knowing that no matter what he does, he's going to die. The council wouldn't let him live until he gets V1 again. And by killing them, once again, it just makes it a cinch that he's going to die. It's a damned if you do, and damned if you don't. Gabriel decides he's going to do. He found his own purpose. But it's sad, because he found his purpose, he found his own will, his own sense of self, but has but mere hours to enjoy it. That's where this like that's why I feel like Akira means like the melancholic like finality of it. The determination, like determinism. Like, oh well, might as well. Not again. Ooh. Ow. Ugh. But so here we are. Take this down. Yep. There we go. And just like that, we've gone over all the music of Ultrakill. Now, okay, let's move on to because I'm gonna. Oh boy, that was something. As in by something, I mean that was a lot. But, I mean, it was sort of fulfilling just to talk about the things I love. But wait. Just give me a second. Let's put myself together. It's nice talking about things I like. Even if it's a bit more scatterbrained thoughts. That's how I sort of form. That's how I form best. Just sort of let them flow out. Now, when it comes to like final plans, that let them flow out and then like grab a good one and sort of polish it to a mere sheen. But I don't know. I wanted to try it out. I'll probably do it more in the future. Because honestly, just thinking about my experiences combined with like sort of the gameplay experience combined once again with just the music experience, I liked it. But yeah, so yeah, Akira also showed another track for use in the new P level that isn't out yet. Which I mean, the update is coming out later this month, I think. Alongside with the secret level, so that's probably gonna be like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 new tracks, counting the one Akira showed off. Which, like I said, is also it's another guest artist track. Although this will be like the first one where the track is entirely, it'll be the second track where it's entirely made by someone else. With the first one being the Cybergram by Megan Echo. Which I'm kind of wondering to see what else there is, because I'm not sure if it's gonna be like a two-phase fight like Minos. I guess we'll find out. If I were to hazard a guess, maybe it'll be like another 4-track thing. Where, like, you got the prelude, you got the first phase, second phase, and then whatever the secret level is. Or, Wrath. I don't know. I kind of wonder what the secret level of Wrath is going to be. Part of me doubts it's going to be fishing level. But if it is, that'd be funny. It's going to be Aquaman. It was an Aquaman game. It was bad. Don't play it. Either way, time for me to hit the dusty trail. Whatever trail y'all find yourselves on, hope they find you well.